Our next session is presented by Nationwide and Cultural Mindsets, Decoded, with our very, very good friend and champion, Lori Burgos, Senior Consultant, Diverse Marketing at Nationwide, and Valeria Allo, that you heard from previously. She's the president and founder of Alpha Quest Consulting. So ladies, would you take it over?
Gracias, Robert. Buenos días. Good morning. Well, it's actually now good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Nationwide is excited to be celebrating its 10th year as the title sponsor of the Latina Style Business Series. And we are deeply committed to supporting the Hispanic community by sponsoring programs like the Business Series and bringing you relevant and meaningful content to help you elevate your business and your life. So welcome to the Cultural Mindset Series. Back in June, we did a deep dive into the scarcity mindset, what it is, and how does it show up in our lives. But most importantly, we shared with you new mind scripts to help you shift into an abundance mindset. Today, we will be focusing on the survival mindset. When we lead, how do we lead with this mindset? And when we do that, we're actually just doing the bare minimum just to live or to exist. When we choose to flip that script, we can then lead with a thriving mindset where we grow and develop so that we can prosper and flourish. And so to do this, let me welcome Valeria Aloe, a native of General Belgrano, Argentina, and president and CEO of Abundancia Consciente. She is an award-winning business consultant, speaker, wife, and mother, and now also an author, as she is launching her brand new book, Uncolonized Latinas, later this year. You can pre-order her book right now, and it will launch on December 21st. So Valeria, bienvenida, take it away.
Gracias, Lori. I'm super, super excited to be here with you this afternoon. So we will start by taking a deep dive into the survival narrative. And when we look into these narratives, it's very important to understand that these are mostly unconscious. So the importance of our work together today is to bring these narratives to the consciousness, to be more aware of them so that we can take action to pivot. So let's get started. So we'll start with a question. Do you feel inadequate going after professional advancement opportunities, charging your worth with confidence, or speaking up about your wins? And feel free to use the chat. I'm sure this happened to you, if not one of these, many of these. This has been the case for me since I arrived in the US 20 years ago, completely feeling inadequate. So I embarked on this mission of understanding where is this coming from? Because this is not only me, I know it happens to you as well. It happens to all of us Latinas who are immigrants and daughters of immigrants. So where is this coming from? So let's decode this survival mindset. Survival is really an outdated, and I want to emphasize the word outdated belief that it is not safe to speak up, to become visible, or to ask, because there could be negative consequences. So we are fearful. We think something really bad can happen if we speak up, if we are more visible, like leaders in the community out there, or if we ask for what we need. That's extremely outdated. And as we know, as a community, is holding us back from being extraordinary. We are great, but we can be extraordinary. So let's take a look at how these different, what are the different thoughts that you may have, the different inner voices, because we really need to tune in and understand and take a look at what are these inner voices that I'm having. And instead of rejecting them and putting them to the side, really listen to what they are saying. So I'm going to put some of them on the screen and they have a number. Feel free to use the chat and let me know which is the one that is more present in your life, okay? So if I express a different opinion, I may lose the client. That's a big one for Latinas. If I say something that is contradictory to what the client is saying, He may just drop me. I may just entirely lose a client. That's survival. I can succeed just by working hard. So we keep our heads down and we work very hard, and we think that we will succeed just by that. This is a big one for me. In order to make it happen, I have to do it all. So I have this idea, and I also need to develop the idea, present the idea, introduce the idea to the market, and then analyze the results and present. So I have to do it all, right? So that holds you back, because you come to a point that you don't want to come up with new ideas anymore. It's too much work. Number 4, if I become self-conscious, I become self-conscious when I speak up about myself. That's a big one. And this happened to me as well. I used to talk about my wins in front of a lot of people, and I turned red. I was blushing. I was feeling so even ashamed. I'm like, how come that I'm being ashamed of talking about the great things that I have done? This is, again, another survival narrative, very prevalent in our culture. And the last one, this is a big one. If I want more, I am being greedy. So please share with me which are the ones, or the one that is more prevalent. I see we are a little bit all over the place. 3, I see 5, I see 4, but I see a lot of 3s. I see a lot of 3s. Interesting. So in order to make it happen, I have to do it all. And there is a component of not trusting and also perfection there, right? So we'll cover that a little bit more at the end again. What do we do with this? So to go further into where is this coming from, I will cover 3 main areas of where this is coming from. Cultural narratives. Number 1, just work hard. This is very prevalent among Latinas. If I put my head down and I do the work, they will notice. They will recognize me for that. So what happens is it doesn't work that way. We stop going after bigger professional opportunities because we are too busy working hard. It's too much work already. So we just hold ourselves back from going after more. This also happens in relationships, not only in our professional life. We do not seek mentors and sponsors. We don't have the time. We start trying to convince ourselves that's not so important. If I do the work, I will be fine. No, that's not the way it is. And we start waiting for others to give me what I need. So I do not proactively ask and go out into the work. I sit down and I do the work and wait for others. The second one is be humble, huge in our community. How many of you heard this from your parents or your grandparents? We are a humble community. We are, but now it's not working out. We need to find the balance. So when you are extremely humble, what happens is you do not share your victories. You do not advocate for others. So if you have a team, you stop even advocating for them. And you just don't show up authentically. It takes work to try to change who you are. And if you're bubbling inside that you want to share the great work that you do and you're holding yourself back, that takes energy. And the third one, be thankful. How many of us heard this from, in our culture, this is extremely prevalent. Be thankful. And yes, gratitude is a big pillar in my life, but it has to be balanced, because when we're saying I'm just grateful to have this opportunity, it's a way of I'm happy with the little I have. And it's kind of convincing yourself that you are okay because you have already something, right? So you're great, but we want you to be extraordinary, right? So this is a narrative inside of you. What I have is enough. You're trained to convince yourself what I have is enough. But at the end of the day, what runs you is that fear of losing what you already have. That is little, but you're afraid of losing it. So what happens when somebody, a Latina in our community, breaks through these patterns of working hard and only working hard, of being humble and of being so thankful, just thankful? And she becomes a leader and she stands up in the room and she's visible and assertive. What happens? And this is a vulnerability moment in this presentation, because what happens is we start judging that person, right? We have all these thoughts going through our minds, these inner voices, and we try to silence them because it's uncomfortable. But the reality is we start thinking she's a show off, she's being too aggressive, She's forgetting our culture. So we even think, you know, she's betraying us. Look at her, right? So we start judging. And I want to invite you to think about this differently. When there is a person out there, and please bring that person to your awareness right now, because I'm sure there is one person in your life that triggers you in this way. So this person is reflecting, is being a mirror of stuff you have inside of you that you need to work with. So when you feel envy, for instance, towards somebody who is breaking through these patterns, these cultural patterns, deep inside, it may be that you want to be that person. You want to have that opportunity. You want to have the courage to stand up and be that leader. You want that. Deep inside, you really want it, but also deep inside, you believe that you can't have it. So when you feel jealous or you have all these judgments going inside of you, a way to look at that is to be vulnerable, to listen to them, and to think about how can I do a better job at supporting myself, to really believe in my heart that I can do the same thing that that person is doing. Okay, so where do we start? And it's all about balance, right? Yes, we want to be grateful. Yes, we want to be humble, but we need to be assertive. And in a way, we want to start building our personal brand. You are your brand. Particularly if you're a business owner, definitely you're a brand. But if you're a corporate employee, a professional, an employee, you also have your own brand. And it's extremely important that as you become aware of these cultural narratives, you become extremely intentional about building the brand you want to be in the world. And there is something about a brand that makes it very appealing to others, which is authenticity. When you're authentic, people can trust you. And when people can trust you, they want to do business with you. So let's take a look at those personal brand building best practices. Number one is understanding your client. It's extremely important that you become a solution for a need your client has. I'll give you an example. If you're a dentist, you are not selling healthy teeth. You are selling confidence. If you have a digital marketing agency, you are not selling online presence. You are selling your client that you're kind of healing your client's fear of missing out because he or she is not so much out there in social media because they don't have the time. So the solution that you provide is not always so obvious. You need to go deeper and understand from your client's point of view, putting yourself in the shoes of your client. What is that problem they have that is mostly emotional? And how am I going to be a solution for that? Second pillar, your value. I cannot even start to tell you how many times doing coaching with business owners, they tell me, oh, I opened this business 3 to 5 years ago. This is what I do. And I said, okay, but what else did you do before that? It's not in your website. You never talk about it. So part of your value is bringing to the table everything that you have, everything that you offer. That includes your past experience, even if it was as an employee, that's extremely important, your education, any languages you speak, your multiculturality, all of those make you who you are. So bring your full past to your business and make that part of the value you offer to the client. Third pillar is your worth, huge for Latinas. What I have found is that as Latinas, we charge around half of what we should charge, around half of the market value. This is very, is like widespread across the full nation, and it has to do with a sense of lack. It has an emotional component, but the challenge for you today is find out your market value. And I'm not saying talk to other Latinas, because chances are they are not charging the market value. Find out your real market value and ask yourself, as I do when I write a proposal, what's the price point that a white man would charge for this work? That's the benchmark that you need to have, not other Latinas. And finally, your advocates. This is huge. Who is in your tribe? Your clients, who are your peers? Because these are the ones that are going to not only support you in your journey, but also expand your impact. Become, like your voice in the market, refer you to new clients, share your social media posts. So do not be afraid to ask them for help and to give you more visibility in the community, to talk about your work with others. Do not be afraid to ask. In essence, we're talking about being your own personal brand, being exactly who you are, and putting that in a package that is visible to people out there in the market, but that you're extremely proud of. So part of that is to become an expert about who you are and your values. Know yourself so well, deeply, spend time with yourself, understand everything you bring to the table. Not only the good things, there are things about you that make you uncomfortable. So the trick with that is to start loving even the most uncomfortable parts of yourself. Start loving it all. Use your energy to create versus to change yourself. When you try to change yourself, like I talk with my hands too much and I'm with a client and I'm being aware of that, I'm judging myself and I'm pivoting my energy from creating what I want to create, from being assertive and serving the client, to judging what I'm doing. So it takes energy to change who you are. You're much better off using that energy to create what you want. And finally, be super proud of bringing out your authentic self. Not only be proud, celebrate, do whatever means for you a celebration, whatever it means, to really, give yourself a pat in the back and say, I'm doing a great job as I'm learning, and I'm doing a great job as showing who I really am, showing the authentic me with no shame and no guilt. So we'll be wrapping up before we go to Q&A if we have a couple minutes. What's the immediate step that you can take today to intentionally build your brand? Think about one action, a micro step, something small. It could be asking for help for your peers to expand your business, anything. Figure out your pricing. Feel free to share that in the chat. And I will give you some other ideas. Micro steps. This is all about micro steps, implementing tiny changes that you can do something today, not tomorrow, today, to start pivoting from surviving to thriving, which is an art. Perhaps you want to recognize the problem you're solving. Think about, what's that emotional problem that you're solving, the need your client has. Go deeper, go deeper. It's not what you see in the surface, go deeper. Like the dentist example that I just gave. It could be to change the inner voice to better support yourself. So you told me number 3, you had chosen that inner voice. In order to make it happen, I have to do it all. So perhaps a way to change that is I am learning to trust in my tribe. I am learning to ask for help. I am learning to trust other people to do the work. I am learning to delegate. Okay. That's a way to support yourself. And I love the I am learning because, it doesn't mean you're there yet, but you're in the process of. It's very supportive. Find out your market value and start charging it. Take action. The next proposal has to go with a higher price and see how that goes. Practice with your tribe. Ask, listen, and speak. Before you negotiate with a client, practice with people you trust. Ask them, right? If you're going to be increasing a pricing to a client, first practice with your tribe. Do your ask, listen to their reaction, and then do the speaking. Learn to negotiate and practice hear yourself talking out loud, extremely important. And share your wins in social media, newsletter, and website. Be more assertive, show us who you are, show us your victories. We all want to hear more about you. We need more Latinas showing the victories, their achievements. We want more of that. It's very inspirational and it invites others to do the same. So a final message for that is go for more. It is okay to want more. I want you to walk away from this knowing that you have permission to go for more, but always do it from a place of self-support and self-love and being authentic. Because confidence is believing that you can do great things. Humility is knowing that you may not always have the skills or resources to do it all by yourself. You are not alone. Be confident, be bold, and be humble enough, keep the humility balance to know that you will need others' help to make it happen, and know for sure that they are out there waiting for you to ask. Thank you so much. Let's connect in social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, or my website. Thank you for this time.
Mil gracias, Valeria. We're now going to open for Q&A. And one of the first questions that I wanted to get your thoughts on, Valeria, is you spoke just as you closed about confidence and humility. And some of us might struggle thinking that these two elements can coexist, really. So how do we show up with confidence while still staying humble?
So the first step here is to acknowledge that we have conflicting voices in our mind, because the image that we have of a confident person is the opposite of a humble person, right? So first of all is to have that awareness that there is a conflict inside of us, and then realize that we can change it. We can support ourselves to reprogram the way we see things. We have filters or glasses through which we see the world, but we can reprogram the way we see the world. So really, this is an art. Finding the balance between confidence and humility is really an art. How do you know, because it's an art, that you are doing what's right for you? Because at the end of the day, what works for me is different what will work for Lori, right? And we work in different environments with different people. I would say always look at your results. The results give you information about how you're being. If you're not achieving what your goals, right? If you're not getting the clients you need, if you're not making the money you want to make, you're probably being too humble. And perhaps it's time to, balance it in a way that you become more confident about talking about your wins, showing up differently. So, but the results that show up in your life will show you the way. In the same way, if you're being a little bit too aggressive, which is a narrative that Latina women have, we don't want to show up as too aggressive. You have to be present in the moment, looking around the room and looking at those faces. People will tell you if they are being triggered, you will know. So having that awareness, being, confident, present, breathing, connected with the people you're working with, and really receiving that information and pivoting on the spot.
Thank you for that, Valeria. And I would say for those of you who are listening, if you have any questions for Valeria, we have a few more minutes. Please put them on the chat. I have not seen any come through the Q&A, but I do have another one, Valeria, that I could personally use help with, and is how do I boost my confidence about building a brand when I might not feel like I look the part, or I feel like I need to change intrinsically how I show up. Whether that is maybe I'm just too happy, or maybe I use my hands too much, whatever that might be. Some of us might have at some point or another gotten some feedback that that might have told us, hey, it is not okay to show up like that at work. So how do we do that? How do we deal with that?
So first of all, having that confidence to show up in your authentic self requires self-awareness, but also self-love. As I said before, it takes energy to try to change who you are. It's extremely important that you listen to your inner voices, particularly your self-judgments. You become aware of those, and you focus your energy in supporting yourself at every moment. So micro steps is a big thing. So if you're not comfortable with showing up in a certain way, as we say, this is an art, we are learning, as immigrants and daughters of immigrants, we're navigating spaces that no one in our family navigated before. And that's extremely tough. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, and there are not many Latinas in leadership positions for us to ask them to support us or be our mentors. They are not enough. So you need to find your own way. Try these micro steps and adjust the way you show up, and always pay attention to the people who are in your environment in successful positions. Learn from others. And if there are not enough Latinas, to whom you can go to ask for help, go out of the Latina community, connect with allies. They are right now, I have to say, because I had that experience with my book, 70% of the sales for a book that I wrote for Latinas is coming, 70% of the support, the purchases, is coming from allies. They want to understand how to help us. They really want to help us. So let's be proactive in asking for help and learning from them. And, you know, identify one person that you really see that is assertive and successful. Sit down with a person and say, I want to learn from you. How do you do it? How do you do it? Incorporate that information and start taking your first micro steps and see how that feels. Look into the results and keep adjusting. But always come from a place of self-love. You do not have to change who you are. If somebody told you growing up that your curly hair or going into the office, whatever that is, you move your hands too much, that's what makes you you. And the world is big enough to have opportunities for all of us exactly as we are.
I love how you inviting us to really lead from a place of self-love. I think that's super important. And I also love this concept of micro steps. I read this quote recently that says that success is measured in inches and not in miles.
Yes.
And it is so true that sometimes we're like really seeking to shift something, like I said, flipping a script, flipping the way that we are showing up in a different way. And we expect that we're going to do it go from 0 to 100 overnight. And we're not compassionate with ourselves. We're not patient with the process. And then what happens is we get discouraged and then we just don't do it.
Yeah.
Instead of just, to your point, what is the next best step that I can take that may not be as painful, but I do that today and I do another one tomorrow and I might do another one in a week from now. And then when I look back in 30 days, the progress is tremendous. I also like what you're saying about us really reaching out to Latina leaders. And this is the thing too, forums such as this allow us that opportunity. So if you are in a place, in a city where you do not have access to, face-to-face physical access to Latina leaders, this is your platform, right? To reach out, to look, who is attending. And from those attendees, is there somebody that I can tap? Can I connect with them on LinkedIn and share my story and where I want to go? And maybe they can help you, figure out, what kind of plan you can put in place. So I apologize if you guys just heard that. A lot of noise going on in the background, but maybe I was the only one that heard it. So thank you, Valeria, so much for joining us again today and sharing such great information. I will do one last shout out to everyone that's listening, and that is, let's challenge ourselves to take at least one micro step to get us moving into that thriving mindset. Let's stop playing it small, because let's just be honest. At one point or another, we have played it small, whether it's in our personal lives, whether it's in our professional lives. And let's really go for that gold, because we certainly deserve it. Please join us at the next session, which is happening October 21st. There we will discuss the Simpatia mindset, where we just want everybody to like us, and we might, hide from having difficult conversations that are important just because we're thinking maybe it'll damage the relationship and whatnot. So we're super excited to bring that content to you. And with that, just remember that Nationwide is on your side. Thank you so much.